Hello, my name is Camille McDaniel, and I'm a licensed professional counselor who am, like many of you, homebound right now. I am actually seeing clients from home. I'm not going into the office, but I did want to share with you all, no matter whether you have always worked from home, whether you are now working from home because of COVID-19 and everything going on with the pandemic, whether you are experiencing a layoff or furlough at this time, or if you are an essential employee who has to go to work and you're not able to really stay at home like many others are having to do right now. I wanted to just share with you 6 things to just kind of help you as you are working through month 2 and month 3 of this pandemic. And these are going to just be some things to help you with your wellness and just strategies for just dealing with everything that is going on, since there are many people who are still sheltering in place and some who are just not comfortable going out, even though their state it has opened up a bit. So the first one is to make sure to just keep your regular morning routine. I know for many who are having to go to work, this doesn't change for you. It gets your day started, you are up, you're brushing your teeth, you're getting dressed, you're doing your hair, and so on and so forth, so that you can go where you need to go. But for many others who are not having to leave the house, get ready in the morning, you can actually find yourself in a bit of a routine of kind of just slacking a bit. Maybe you don't have to do anything but walk down the hall and open your computer, and you find that you're not getting up and doing your normal things like you used to, showering, getting dressed, do your hair, but it impacts our mindset. We can actually over time start to feel less productive, because we are not actually preparing ourselves for the beginning of a new day and getting started in that new day and brushing our teeth and washing our face and showering, getting dressed, just doing ourselves for the day actually prepares your mind for us to get ready in anticipation for something to happen. Our energy levels actually just go up a little bit as we do those things. So the number one thing on this list of 6 is to keep your morning routine. If in the morning you used to go to the gym and you can't do that or can't do it comfortably because maybe your gym is open and you don't feel comfortable going, or your gym is not open at all, still do your morning routine. Whether you do that in your living room, bedroom, go outside in the yard, wherever, but still keep things going. All right, number 2 is going to be to actually make sure that you have scheduled tasks for yourself each day. I know I see people, they're joking that, what day is it? And I can't lie, sometimes that has even happened to me too. I'm like, gosh, it doesn't feel like the weekend. Some days feel like all the days are the weekend. Some days feel like all the days are a weekday. But if I have scheduled tasks for myself throughout the week, then the days don't run together as much. I know exactly what are work days. I have things for myself to do during those days, and I know what days are going to be a little bit more time for me to be able to just unwind and do things with family or do things for myself, whatever that may be. So if you happen to be, for example, working from home, make sure you already have a schedule for work, but make sure that you schedule things like breaks. If you were a person who never took lunch, I'm going to need you to start. No working from your desk. Take a break. Get up. Go and fix yourself something to eat. Go and actually allow your mind to have a little mental rest. So make sure that if you're working from home that you take your breaks. And if you have children while you're working from home, then I encourage you to have a flexible mindset, because we all pretty much probably know by now it's not going to look the same, and that is okay. We are doing the best that we can under the circumstances, okay? So you might find that if you have children and you're working from home, you might need more breaks. Your lunch might not just be one continuous hour, or depending on how things usually work for you, whatever that lunch break time frame looks like. But you might have to break some of it up so that you can give yourself some time, so that you can check on your kids and make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then come back, give yourself a little time, and then go back into work. Okay, I would encourage you to do this instead of extending your workday by a couple of hours because you found yourself unable to really take a break because you were having to check on the kids and then you didn't have enough time for yourself. The other thing for those who are working from home is to make sure that when the day is over, close the laptop, leave the office. Literally, leave the office, turn off the work phone. Try not to extend your day. I understand realistically some people do have to be on call. Some people might be team leads, or they may have to check a message here or there. But really and truly try not to extend your workday beyond 1 to 2 hours, so that you don't find yourself working all the time. When we work from home, we actually may find that we give the company a lot more hours than we are giving when we are working in the office, where you actually have set times where you go home. All right. For those who happen to be college students, or you are in school and you're doing teleschooling right now, I would just encourage you to make sure that you have a set time where you are studying and completing your assignments. Again, schedule yourself just like you would schedule classes. And although I know that this is not something that always can be done in a brick and mortar institution, but since you're home, let's take advantage of working and doing your assignments and doing your studying during the part of the day where your mind works the best, the optimal time frame for working for you. So if you happen to be a morning person and you know you can retain information that you're learning, you can do all the assignments because your ideas are flowing really well, then do it early in the morning. Do it at the time of the morning that works best for you. If you happen to be a midday person or even a late evening person, and that's when you actually are the sharpest, then go ahead and do your work during that time. You have a little bit more leeway now. You have a little more flexibility. So I would encourage you to try that and see if it doesn't help you to retain information and also generate better ideas instead of working against your natural personality, which is sometimes what we have to do when we're in a brick or mortar institution when we're going to school. But remember, don't overload yourself. Just do an appropriate amount each day. Spread things out over the week. You don't necessarily have to cram everything into just one day so that you have the rest of your week free, especially if you're not scheduling much to do. That over time can kind of be less productive than we think. If right now you happen to be experiencing a layoff, or you have been let go from a job, or you're furloughed, then I think in addition to kind of planning and maybe even doing some looking to see what other work is available, that you also keep a schedule that not just focuses only on applying for additional jobs and employment or waiting to see what's going to happen with your employment, but that you also start to work on things that are good for you, maybe things that you did not have time to do when you were working all the time. So make sure that you are actually doing things that align with maybe hobbies, things that bring you joy, things that bring you peace, things that you just like to do. Make sure to schedule that in between either looking for additional employment or just kind of waiting to see what the job is going to do as far as careers and callbacks. That's number 2. That was long. Let's move on to number 3. So number 3 is to get fresh air. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a student, whether you're an adult, get fresh air. It's possible for all of us to do that, and it's necessary. Our minds, our bodies, we need fresh air. We need to experience sunlight. It really helps us overall. So I know that right now, this is also allergy season for a lot of people. I'm an allergy sufferer. We have a lot of allergy sufferers in our household, probably everyone except for my husband, really. So one of the things that we find helpful is that early in the morning does not seem to bother our allergies as much. For others, it might be later in the evening. That's when the pollen is not as high. So whenever it works for you, I would encourage you to make sure to either open your windows, open your back door, front door, go outside, get a little fresh air, maybe take just a little walk, come back, reset your mind, and then continue on your day, okay? Number 4 is to do something to better yourself. So again, there's just a lot going on. Some households are extremely busy. Some people find themselves not busy at all, but no matter what it is, try to carve out time for yourself. What have you been wanting to do? What have you had little time to do? Maybe you wanted to learn a language. Maybe you wanted to start learning to cook some new things, right? Or you wanted to exercise. There was this book that you always wanted to read, right? Maybe it's something like wood carving. I don't know, right? I've actually picked up gardening, and so far the plants are not dying. So this is good, and hopefully we'll have some vegetables in June. So what is it that you've wanted to try? A lot of us do have a lot of time, a lot of wiggle room. And so why don't you take this to do something that relaxes you, that really you enjoy? Something that's going to be good to feed your mind, your body, and your spirit. Okay, and if you have, again, like I said earlier, if you have children that you are watching who are also doing schooling at this time, then many of these things you can do and just have the kids do their own little study time, or maybe quiet time, or maybe their own little activity, and maybe you do it while they take a nap if they're that young, right? But try to coordinate what your kids are doing so that you can also have some enjoyable time for yourself as well. The 5th thing that I'd like you to just make sure that you're doing, if you are not doing already, is to make sure to continue to connect with other people. There are some people who really, they thrive off of social interaction. They are connectors. They're big connectors. They don't feel so good when they're not connecting and reaching out with people or having people reach out with them, versus other people who, not that they don't enjoy that, but they don't need as much of it, and sometimes can get a bit overwhelmed with too much connection. But you want to make sure that you know yourself well enough to know how to give yourself that connection and how much connection you need throughout the week. So this is a great opportunity for you to get in touch with people that maybe you don't normally reach out to often, but have always wanted to touch base with more frequently. I know there are a lot of people who are having like family Zoom meetings, and they are talking to family who's all in other states. People are pulling out old pictures, going through the family timeline, meeting up with nieces and nephews, and some people are connecting with friends that they haven't talked to since high school, friends that, they're just getting really creative. And you can do this, I mentioned Zoom, but you can do this through FaceTime, you can Skype, you can text, you can call on the phone, you can send letters. So your kids can get involved with this too. Have them keep in touch, whether they're sending things to their cousins or their aunt or a buddy at school. If you have their address, have them Skype or Zoom, or they can send letters or pictures, But make sure that throughout this time, you're not isolating yourself, but instead you are connecting with people. I know that there are a lot of churches like ours that are also connecting, and they have groups online. So just wherever you can, make sure that you have some time throughout the week where you are touching base with others and you're plugged in. The last and final thing that I'd like to talk about, number 6, in order to kind of help you keep up your wellness and just overall getting through a lot of the changes socially that are going on, is to limit your news intake and the news intake of your children. Now, for those individuals who may be in professions that are directly connected to what is going on with the illness, it's going to be a little bit different for you, because you don't even need the news to tell you all the time what's going on. You are seeing it all the time going on. And so where I would ask those individuals who are not directly connected to a medical or social or mental health field where you might be seeing the impact regularly of what is going on, for those who are not in those fields, then I would say really try to limit the amount of news that you are intaking and ingesting. And children oftentimes are in the room when we are watching television, so the amount of news that we are ingesting, sometimes they are also ingesting. And so they can kind of play off of our reactions, or they overhear some comments that we make, and so on and so forth. So I would say just be really mindful. You want to stay informed, but you don't want to find yourself just meditating on this stuff day and night, because the truth is, as one person, you can only do so much. So there is really no need to get minute-to-minute updates every single second of what new thing has occurred, what chaotic thing has occurred, what darkness is going on. We don't have to meditate on it. We just need to be informed of certain basic things. So I would encourage you to pick a news channel that you really feel good about. Pick one news channel. Decide what time you are going to tune in, whether it's the evening news, whether it's the midday news, and then let that be the time that you get your update, and then go on about your life. If you happen to be in a field where you see things happening every day, then I don't want you to see it as optional to have time to debrief, to unwind. This might be the time that you take from your job to your house, where you are listening to certain music, or you may be listening to certain sermons, or you might be listening to certain podcasts, or you may just put the windows down slightly and listen to nothing but the peaceful quiet of the drive home. But there should be something that you do to allow yourself to release all that you experience, all that you just took on, so that you can feel a little bit lighter. You do not have to carry all of that with you, and as human beings, it's not possible for us to do that. We will burn out. We can experience secondary trauma from those things. And so if you don't already have a way to unwind, release, it might be that you do that what I just mentioned, coming home, and then when you actually get home, the first thing you do is you take a shower. Let it be a nice warm one. Something, if you have at your house that has nice aromatics, eucalyptus, peppermint, a lot of things, lavender, things that are kind of calming, or that can kind of turn your mind to some other emotion and feeling, right? The other thing is, then after that time, you can kind of integrate back into the family. Just kind of let it be known that these are some of the steps you need to take before you can just really jump right in and see how everyone's doing and love on them and start conversation. You absolutely have to give yourself a way to debrief. You don't want to take all of that on. It's not good for you mentally. It's not good for you emotionally. It's not good for you spiritually. Okay? So those are my 6 recommendations for how we can just kind of stay well, how we can try to make the most of this current pandemic and not feel like we are drowning in everything that is going on. All right? So thank you so much. And all the best to everybody who comes across this video. Please pass on these tips to those who you think could benefit from hearing something similar. Bye.